What's up? Thank you. I'm doing great.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. When you got two elite receivers like CD and Pickens, how do you think Dak has been able to take care of both of them at times? Because, guys can have egos and that kind of thing.
I think the easy answer to that is you got to throw the ball to the guy that's open. But it's not always the exact answer. I think that sometimes you're designing a pass concept for the coverage that you're anticipating and the leverage that you think that guy can break, and they give you a different coverage. So I do think ultimately the best thing to do with all those situations is, like, this is where we're going with the ball versus this coverage. This is where we're going with the ball versus this coverage. And then, if you're getting whatever, zero or different normal leverage man coverage, then it's who wins.
Like George is having so much fun out there. Just the perception of when he got here was like he was just this guy that always got these issues. But it seems here he's enjoying himself. Have you noticed that yourself? I assume you have.
Yeah, that dude loves football, and he's not perfect, just like I'm not, and anybody else isn't. But he does love football, and I think that's one of the things that I enjoy probably the most about him is he. There's certain players that when they come out of the tunnel on game day, if you're feeling nervous or whatever, you can look at those guys and feel pretty good about yourself because you know that they're going to have fun and really enjoy themselves. And that's always something that I like to try to do because I can get a little bit tight on game day. Is I'm looking for where's number 3 at? He's having a good time. Maybe I can start enjoying myself a little bit.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. Speaking of Pickens, Randy Moss was on TV this weekend. Don't give him the slant. Don't give him the slant. Is it easier said than done? I mean, clearly Pickens is eating on the slant.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played corner, but I think that again, some of that on defense has to do with where your help is, and you're trying to funnel a guy to where your help is, and with a route like a slant, sometimes you're able to break that leverage before your help is able to get there. You're pulling a guy out of a window. And there's a lot of different ways that defenses try to take those things away, which, again, feeds into everything else that you want to do on offense. And so, yeah, there's always, whatever somebody's doing good is what the defense is trying to take away. But generally speaking, in my opinion, when you look outside and say somebody wants to take away a slant, the opportunities that are there at that point a lot of times are the run game because then you're trying to cloud a corner and play a guy over the top and you got one less player underneath. So you can't do that in every situation, obviously, but, where there's danger, there's opportunity. And so that's always the thing that my mind goes immediately to is if you are actually going to take that route away without just saying somebody's going to cover them, you're usually hopefully giving us something else.
Javonte Williams, but he was such a good pass blocker when y'all picked him up, and certainly, obviously, early in the season, it was about his running, but the last few weeks he stood out from his blitz pickup and pass blocking. Did you know he was that good?
I did know that. I did know off of the tape that I did feel like he was going to be a good pass protector for us. Generally, guys that are really physical runners have a chance to be that way. I think I think that he's playing at a really high level kind of all the way across his skill set and his game. I think he's improved as a pass protector, and that's a testament to him and Derek Foster and the work that they've done. But he's not just being physical; he's playing with good fundamentals too, and that's a huge part of it.
Clayton Adams with ESPN, he's closing in on 1,000 yards. Hey, does that matter much? And does it matter more when you can do it in a 13th game as opposed to a 17th game? Does that speak to what you guys have been able to do?
I mean, it matters to me if it matters to him. I think at the end of the day, in my seat, you're always just trying to say, how do you win the game? Whether that's however many passing yards or rushing yards, and it doesn't really matter who gets it. But I certainly want him to have success, within our success. And so that would just be, my thought on it is if that number means something to him, then it definitely means something to me because he's on our team and we care about him having success as well.
And then the Landry shift, When did you know that that's been a thing around here for a little bit?
Like week 2, I think. Yeah, I had no idea, and then somebody explained it to me, and then I went and looked up I think it was like Bill Callahan and Zach Martin and those guys when they were young. I believe that the ones that came up with it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's, in my opinion, kind of a respectful thing. You know, I don't think it's something you're doing to shove it in the other team's face or anything like that, but I think it's a really cool way to pay homage to the past, and kind of tip your hat at where this sport has come from, where the Dallas Cowboys has come from, where this league has come from. I'm into it. I think it's cool. I want to do it as many times as possible.
So it wasn't something that on a Saturday walkthrough, like, I don't know if you practice victory formations or not, but you didn't see it there. The first time you saw it was in the game.
Unfortunately, we had done it several times at practice, and I didn't know. Yeah. I was like, what are those guys doing?
John Machota with The Athletic. Just what's your evaluation of Nate Thomas stepping in, starting and playing every snap?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for him, and it's a great opportunity for us that he's able to get these reps because they're meaningful reps, obviously, and you know it'll be a useful tool for us in the offseason to help him improve and also help him kind of start at hopefully another level confidence-wise whenever all this is done and the players get back here. But I think first of all, it's hard to evaluate right now just because we've been through such kind of a weird schedule. I'm able to watch the games, but especially like last week when we're on a 3-day prep, you don't really get to evaluate that much. And so I'll give you the best answer that I can kind of based on what I know is, you know, I think that there has been a step up from where he's at playing now compared to where he was when he played in the Jets game. How much of a step up is probably difficult for me to know just because we've been kind of rolling on this train. And, you know, when I think Nate Thomas right now, I think about the reps that he had yesterday at practice. So it's probably a little bit unfair to totally judge him based on what he's done, other than just say I do think he's taken a step forward, and you can tell that his confidence level is a little bit different than it was when he played in that first game.
And then just kind of what have you noticed during that 3-game stretch that you guys are on? Just being around the team, what it's been like, obviously on a 3-game winning streak and beating some very good teams.
I mean, it's been fun. You know, I do think when you're playing on short weeks, you get a little bit of like the training camp mentality of like, man, it's moving so fast. You know, you don't really have time to overthink things, which is nice. You don't have time to overreact or over-evaluate things. And then, you know, from my perspective, this is a little bit just who I am and some of who I've learned from in the profession. But it's like a computer, like hard reset. When the last game is over, you're not going to evaluate it until next weekend or whenever we're done with this Lions game. You know, we have the couple extra days. So if I'm not going to evaluate it and I'm not going to try to really learn a lot from it right this second, then, you know, hard reset and move forward. And so that's what I try to do, and that works for me. I don't know that it's the same for everybody else, but so for me to just be around the guys every day and kind of moving forward all the time is refreshing because there's nothing lingering about what happened on Thursday or the Sunday before that.
Patrick. Hey, Mr. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Obviously, it's a copycat league, and looking at some of the plays that you guys have run, particularly on the ground, they seem to be variants of certain ones from other teams. I will not say those other teams' names. But where do you stand on just being willing to look at what works around the league and saying, hey, let's try that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, obviously. I always think that when you're looking at what someone else has done or had success with, usually what you're looking at, because it is a real copycat league, is you're looking at a variation of what someone else did before that. And so if you can find the genesis of it is why is this better than the previous version, and find that variation within the front that you're seeing or the fit that you're going to play against or the players that you're playing against, then it's worth doing. And generally, if it's something they've already seen, you're going to try to create version 3.0 or whatever it is. But where I think guys get in trouble, and when I was a little bit younger, I had probably to learn from this type of experience is just saying, that looks cool, let's do that. I still probably get caught in that mode a little bit of like, man, I can't wait to put that in. We're going to do it this week. And then you watch it at practice and you're like, that's not really built for this defense. But I do think that that's the most important thing is why does this fit? One of the things that I try to do in the off season that's really helped me be productive time-wise is take these things and kind of place them in columns of this is a run I really like versus a diamond front, or this is a run that's really built for a jet technique team, or putting them in those categories helps me a little bit, especially on a short week like last week of going, all right, this team is A, Z, and Y, and if I put those three things together, I can pull some stuff and hopefully, they'll have a chance at matching up with what we're seeing.
Tommy Orr, DallasCowboys.com. I know you said these last couple games, since they've been so close together, you haven't been able to watch as much, but you feel like as of late, the interior trio of your offensive line is playing their best together that they've played all year?
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate, and I think that is a little bit of what we were talking about earlier in the season is, they'd played a couple games together and they were starting to really develop chemistry. And, like I've said before, like I really think that game chemistry is like 10x, and you really, really get greater continuity from being in the games. You can practice, you can do preseason games, all that, but that real game chemistry is 10x. And then all of a sudden, all three of those guys were out. And so then one of them comes back, and the second one comes back. And so, yeah, you got to keep it from falling apart, but you're not really moving forward in those situations in regards to getting that type of chemistry. Now, I'm not sure even how many it is. Maybe it's 4 or 5 games. They've all been together now. You're starting to see kind of what I was talking about a few weeks ago of communication is great. What's better is when everybody knows what to do without having to communicate. So I think you're starting to see a little bit of that.
And then what's going through your mind when Malik Davis pops that long touchdown?
That I was like kind of caught up with something else at that moment, but we were trying to figure out how to get something downhill quickly, and that was a play that we had run earlier in the season, and then we had put back in that plan late just because, there's certain teams that are going to, with the kind of pass rushers around the league, you'll see guys jumping out of gaps a little bit, and they're hard to block because they're really good players. But how do you try to punish somebody for that is you try to get the ball through the line of scrimmage quickly. And so that's kind of where we were going with that, and I think we were all kind of taken surprise that it hit the way that it did. But kudos to him. I mean, we did not block it perfectly. Hunter did a really good job of kind of adjusting for something that happened on the move, and then Malik made the safety miss. So that's how he went and did a lot of that on his own.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. Last 2 weeks, Jalen Carter and Chris Jones have kind of lined up a lot against Tyler Booker. How pivotal was that matchup the last 2 weeks, and what did you see from Tyler Booker as he played against those guys?
Yeah, just what we thought we were getting when we drafted him. A freaking dog. He is very confident, and his confidence is built the right way because it's built on his work ethic, and it's built on his experiences of doing things right rather than just being a guy who's built on ego or something like that. I mean, he really is built the right way, and his mindset is he's a big kind of positive affirmations and positive self-talk guy. It doesn't sound that positive when you hear him saying it to himself, but it definitely makes him feel better. He's a big-time competitor, and I think that we're going to continue to see his growth as we go.
Shadi said that he challenged him recently to be more vocal. How have you seen him be more vocal the last few weeks?
Yeah, I don't think had a problem with that at all. Yeah, he's a pretty confident dude.
We'll finish up with Pierre Podell, CBS Sports. Hey, Clayton, last year the Cowboys used play action, one of the lowest rates in the NFL, and this year it's one of the 5 highest. What do you think is behind that shift, and why does it seem like Dak enjoys it so much?
I think, at the end of the day, if you're able to play, we call normal down and distance, but your 1st and 10 and your 2nd and 6 or less. The league has even shifted harder this way, in my opinion, in the past 3 years. Is defenses are all trying to get you to play 3rd down twice, and offenses are trying to get you to play 1st down every down. That's what I want, is to play 1st down every down. And that shift, I think, comes from the influx of pass rushers that are being drafted, and there's just some freaky athletes on defense, and those guys want to rush the passer. What is an easier task for us? An easier task for us is to go forward. Taking a pass set as an offensive tackle, in my opinion, is probably one of the most difficult things in all of sports. So, yeah, you got to do it. And if you're going to win the big one someday, you're going to have to do it several times in a row to probably seal that deal. But the higher percentage of the time that we can be in that normal down and distance, whether you're running the ball or you're in play action, it's a lot easier to block those dudes when they don't know it's a pass. So if you can get them to jump out of the gaps and hit some big plays and force defenses to fit gaps properly and play the run, it's easier to protect longer. And rather than just taking a pass set at tackle and saying, I'm going to hold this dude for 4 or 5 seconds, let's see if we can get him to fit the run for 2 or 3 seconds and then transition into a pass rush, and by then we got dudes working downfield. So the math plays in our favor when we can do it, but if we can't run the ball, you can't really live in that world as much as you want to.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thanks.